After arriving back at the camp at the end of the first day's battle, Yudhishthir called a war council. He consulted with Krishna, who was sitting by his side, wearing golden armor and a jeweled helmet. O Govinda, behold now how the powerful Bhishma is consuming my troops, just as fire consumes dry grass. Why, how can we even look at him as he releases his celestial weapons? Oh, seeing him stationed on the battlefield, my troops are flying away in all directions. Perhaps we could defeat Varuna Dev or Vayu Dev or even the mighty Yamaraj in battle. But I do not think we can overpower Bhishma Dev. Yudhishthir's voice was heavy with sorrow as he went on speaking. O Keshava, when Bhishma is my foe, I think it preferable to retire to the forest. For it is wrong for me to sacrifice all these Kshatriyas into the fire of Bhishma's weapons simply for the sake of sovereignty. Just look at my brothers. They have all been wounded for my sake. And not only that, but they have been deprived of both happiness and wealth because of the love they bear for me. How can I allow them to suffer any further? I will therefore have to spend the rest of my days practicing asceticism. But Krishna said nothing as Yudhishthir poured out his feelings. He knew the Pandava king had no intention of abandoning the fight. The first day had not gone his way, and naturally Yudhishthir was feeling frustrated, especially in the face of a warrior like Bhishma Dev. It was not going to be easy to win this war. That much was already clear. Oh, Janardhan, it seems that Arjuna is content to be only a spectator in the battle. Bhishma Dev alone remembers his Kshatriya duties and fights with determination. Why, O Krishna, does your friend Arjuna look on with indifference as Bhishma annihilates our troops? Tell me, who can stop Bhishma? We must therefore devise a plan to check Bhishma before he destroys our entire army. O Govinda, only by your grace will we regain our kingdom after killing the enemies. Yudhishthir sat with his head down. Then Krishna replied, O best of the Bharata race, do not give way to grief. You are surrounded by great chariot warriors who are all dedicated, heart and soul, to your welfare. And I am also engaged in doing you good. You have your brothers, as well as Drupada, Virata, Drishtadyumna, Satyaki, Shikandi, and many others. All of them are illustrious fighters who will not waver in battle. Shikandi will surely slay Bhishma in due course of time, so do not despair. Yudhishthir became heartened by Krishna's assuring words. Certainly Krishna could never utter an untruth, and it was obvious that Krishna wanted the battle to continue, and regardless, it could not be checked, so it must go on. Yudhishthir was now concerned that his outpouring of sorrow may have discouraged the troops. Looking at Drishtadyumna, Yudhishthir said, O hero, you have been appointed leader of my troops. Even as Kartikeya leads the Celestials, now lead our army to victory. Use your prowess to kill the Kurus. I will follow behind you, along with my brothers and all the other Kshatriyas. O son of Pratap, It is ordained. I will kill Drona. I will now fight with any Kuru who stands before me. Let all those proud kings try their best. I am not afraid of any one of them." Everyone present then cheered. Yudhishthir discussed the arrangements then for the next day's battle. His army would arrange itself in the Krauncha Vyuha, the formation shaped like a crow, which Brihaspati had devised. After arranging the warriors' positions, the Pandavas' army rested for the night, with the moon casting its glow over their thousands of tents. As the sun rose on the second day of battle, the Pandava forces arranged themselves in the Krauncha formation. Seeing this formidable array, with its Atirathas and Maha-Rathas stationed at key positions, Duryodhana asked Bhishma to form a counter-array of his own troops. Bhishma formed his forces into another mighty Vyuha. As countless conch shells and trumpets were sounded, the two armies attacked. Bhishma headed the Kaurava attack personally. He immediately assailed the foremost of the Pandava fighters, who were led by Drishtadyumna, Abhimanyu, Bheema, and Arjuna. Under Bhishma's attack, the Pandava Vyuha wavered. Charioteers and horsemen fell in quick succession. Bhishma's golden winged arrows whistled through the air with deadly accuracy. The Pandava troops became terrified as the old Kuru hero continuously showered them with his shafts. Seeing the carnage, Arjuna became infuriated. "Go now, Janardhan, to that place where the grandfather stands. It seems he will annihilate our entire army for the sake of Duryodhana. Therefore I will kill him." "My dear Arjuna, be on your guard. I will now take you to Bhishma." As Krishna crossed the battlefield, Arjuna sent arrows in all directions, killing the Kaurava forces in large numbers. The twang of his bow, the slap of the string on his leather fences, and the whistling of arrows leaving his bow made one continuous sound. An endless line of shafts emanated from his chariot in many directions as he whirled about. Bhishma saw Arjuna approaching. The great chariot with its white horses, Hanuman on its flag banner, and numerous other celestial flags were easy to recognize. So without delay, Bhishma sent 80 long shafts at Arjuna. At the same time, Duryodhana sent another 60, while Kripa Acharya fired 50, and Drona 25. Many other powerful warriors supporting Bhishma also trained their arrows upon Arjuna. Although struck on all sides, Arjuna was unmoved. He sent his own arrows at the assailants, piercing each of them. Satyaki, Virata, Drishtadyumna, and Draupadi's sons all came to support Arjuna as he targeted Bhishma Dev. Each engaged with one or more Kuru heroes, leaving Bhishma unprotected. Unperturbed, Bhishma quickly sent another 80 arrows, which wounded Arjuna and sent him reeling in his chariot. The Kauravas shouted with joy. But this only infuriated Arjuna even more. Quickly he regained his stance and had Krishna drive his chariot toward the Kaurava heroes, attacking all of them with arrows fitted with heads shaped like the teeth of a calf. Suffering Arjuna's attack, The Kauravas resembled an ocean lashed by a hurricane. Their armor was torn off and their bows repeatedly shattered. Arjuna routed them by the thousands as they fled in terror. Duryodhana quickly rode up to Bhishma, who had not yet counterattacked Arjuna, so he called out, "O sire, see how this mighty Pandava is cutting down our troops like a farmer cutting wheat. How can you allow this? Only for your sake has Karna laid aside his weapons. Now, as a result, it seems Arjuna will destroy all of us. Act quickly to protect us, O son of Ganga." Bhishma looked at the agitated Prince Duryodhana. "Fie upon the Kshatriya's duty," was Bhishma's reply, turning his chariot toward Arjuna. Bhishma did not want to face the Pandavas in battle, but he knew it could not be avoided. As he went towards Arjuna, the Kauravas cheered and blew their conchs. Duryodhana, Ashvatthama, and Dushashan went with Bhishma on his two sides and at his rear. The two Atirathas, Bhishma and Arjuna, exchanged arrow for arrow. Each fighter released first 10, then 100, then 1,000 shafts. Arjuna sent so many arrows at Bhishma Dev that he seemed to be covered by a net. But the Kuru grandfather hero soon dispelled the arrows with his own and quickly counterattacked Arjuna. And as they fought, both were pleased by the other's prowess. Neither could gain the advantage. Then Krishna was struck on the breast by 3 arrows, and blood flowed from his wounds. As Krishna dexterously drove the horses, he appeared like a blossoming Kingshuka tree with bright red flowers. Standing on the chariot, Krishna made it advance and retreat with beautiful circling motions. So swift was its movement that Bhishma found it difficult to aim at Arjuna. So he too wheeled rapidly about the battlefield, confusing Arjuna's aim. The earth trembled under the chariot wheels and appeared ready to split open. Those who witnessed the fight were wonderstruck. They could not mark any difference between the two combatants, nor see any flaw in their fighting techniques. Most of the time, both remained invisible beneath a network of arrows. And in the sky, the celestials said to each other, "Yes, indeed. These two cannot be defeated by any foe, earthly or divine. Surely this battle will be without any end." While Arjuna and Bhishma fought, the two armies continued cutting down each other. Drona and Drishtadyumna contended like two enraged lions. As guru and disciple battled, the contest was no less spectacular than that between Arjuna and Bhishma. Both pierced the other's armor, and both stood as immovable as the Himalayan mountains. Drishtadyumna, conscious of his destiny to kill Drona, constantly sought the opportunity to slay his opponent. But Drona Acharya repeatedly and fearlessly confounded the attacks. The martial preceptor displayed his unmatched ability as he fought Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna. Then, at one point, seeing his chance, Drishtadyumna hurled a long dart adorned with gold and Vaidurya gems. The dart flew like a streak of lightning towards Drona. But the moment it was released, however, Drona shot 3 razor-headed arrows that cut the dart into pieces midair. It fell to the earth like a shower of meteors. Infuriated, Drishtadyumna rained down arrows upon Drona Acharya. But the Kuru warrior checked them all, and at once cut apart Drishtadyumna's bow with a crescent-headed shaft. He then killed Drishtadyumna's 4 horses and smashed his chariot. But then, clutching a massive mace, Drishtadyumna leaped from the smashed chariot. Drona immediately struck the mace with a volley of arrows, shattering it into small pieces. Drishtadyumna then took out his long sword, and raising his shield, which was adorned with 100 gold moons, ran at Drona Acharya. Seeing him charging like a hungry lion, running after an elephant, Drona checked him with a cluster of barbed shafts. Drishtadyumna could not take even another step, and was forced to ward off the arrows with his sword and shield. Seeing him struggling, Bhimasena pulled him onto his own chariot, riding swiftly away from Drona. After Drishtadyumna had mounted a fresh chariot, he again turned to face Drona Acharya. Bhimasena encountered the king of Kalinga, Ketumat, and his vast army. Ketumat was supported by another monarch named Shrutayush, who was followed by thousands of Nishada fighters. The 2 armies then surrounded Bhimasena. Finding himself hemmed in on all sides by elephants, chariots, and horsemen, Bhima laughed and began unleashing his arrows in all directions. The arrows, fired by Bhima's mighty arms from his huge bow, passed clean through the bodies of the warriors and the horses. But the Kalinga and Nishada forces were fearless. Other Pandava troops moved in to assist Bhima. The Matsyas, Chedis, and Karushas together attacked the armies surrounding Bhima. A terrible fight then took place. The clash of weapons and the screams of men and animals was deafening. Hacking and chopping, the soldiers made the field resemble a ghastly crematorium strewn with flesh and blood. They could hardly distinguish friend and foe, and warriors slew others even from their own side. Gradually, the Nishada troops, fighting with demoniac fury, forced back the Chedis and Matsyas. Bhima was now left alone on his chariot, still surrounded by thousands of fighters. Undaunted, Bhimasena stood his ground. He covered the Kalingas with showers of arrows and sent up a great cry. Ketumat and his son, Shakradev, rushed upon Bhima, letting loose numerous shafts. Roaring, Bhima shook his bow and warded them off with ease. Shakradev fired a volley of shafts which killed Bhima's horses. But remaining on his chariot, Bhima fended off Shakradev's attack. He quickly took up an iron mace, hurling it at the prince. That mace sped through the air as straight as an arrow. It caught Shakradev on the chest, instantly killing him, throwing him out of his chariot onto the earth some distance away. Seeing his son now killed, Ketumat rushed forward, backed by his troops. Bhimasena took up a long sword, forged from the finest blue steel. Holding the sword as well as a massive shield made of bull hide, decorated with golden stars and crescents, Bhima leaped from his chariot. Hoping to kill Ketumat, Bhima ran at him with his sword held high. Ketumat at once released a poisoned dart which sped toward Bheema. The Pandava whirled his sword and cut it down as it flew. He shouted in the exultation of battle, and his shout filled his enemies with fear. Ketumat became completely enraged and hurled 14 more darts at Bheema, each with heads of sharpened stone. Bheema cut all of them into fragments with his sword. As he performed this wonderful feat, Ketumat's brother, Banumat, who was mounted upon a great elephant, rushed upon Bheema with a lion-like roar. Unable to tolerate that cry, Bheema Sena shouted even louder. Both yells terrified the troops, and their animals froze in fear where they were standing. Bheema then ran towards Banumat and leaped onto his elephant. With a powerful stroke of his sword, he cut Banumat into 2 halves, which fell on either side of his elephant. Bheema then swept his sword down and severed the elephant's trunk. As the beast fell like a mountain hit by a thunderbolt, Bhimasena jumped clear. He stood on the battlefield roaring furiously, while the Kauravas looked on in horror upon Vayu's enraged son, and they no longer considered Bheema to be human, rather superhuman. Bheema then began to whirl around like a firebrand, cleaving a path through the enemy with his bright, blood-soaked sword. Heads and limbs flew about as he slaughtered innumerable warriors and their animals. Bhimasena moved around the battlefield with the speed of a hawk. Anyone who came before him was instantly slain. Why, he seemed to be just like Yamaraj himself at the time of universal dissolution. The Kaurava troops were terrified. They ran about in all directions, screaming in fear. Bhimasena exhibited various motions. He wheeled and whirled, making side thrusts, leaping high, jumping forward and then back. Bheema moved about like a frenzied dancer. All the while, his sword was flashing, seeming to cover all sides at once. As Bheema butchered them, the enemy soldiers shrieked. Hundreds of elephants fell with fearful cries. Bheema hacked indiscriminately into the forces of the Kalingas and Nishadas. The ground around him was strewn with broken armor and weapons. Lances, bows, mallets, maces, darts, and axes, all were cut asunder, lying everywhere. Beautiful golden housings from the backs of the elephants adorned the battlefield, along with shining bells and other colorful decorations. Heads and arms of the warriors lay about in large numbers, with their jeweled ornaments glinting and shining from the ground. Bheema could simply not be checked. The earth around him became a thick mire of flesh and blood. Wanting to save his soldiers, Shrutayush came before Bheema on his chariot, shouting out a challenge. Shrutayush immediately shot 100 fierce arrows at the rampaging Pandava. Pierced by the arrows like an elephant pierced by a hook, Bheema's anger knew no bounds. Then his charioteer Vishoka came to Bheema with a fresh chariot, and Bhimasena leaped aboard. Crying out, he rushed at Shrutayush, who continuously fired sharp arrows at him. Bheema took up his bow and sent 9 arrows towards the Kalinga king. These shafts hit Shrutayush with the force of a thunderbolt and threw him lifeless to the ground. Now, Turning at once to Ketumat, Bheema similarly slew him with a number of long shafts, which left his bow with the sound of thunderclaps. The remaining Kalingas surrounded Bhimasena in the hundreds of thousands. All of them rained down their weapons upon him at once. But Bheema repelled their weapons and then took up his mace. Bheema jumped down from his chariot and resumed fighting on foot. Wielding his huge mace, Bheema sent the Kalingas to the region of death. So rapid were his movements that no one could touch Bheema. He crushed his enemies as they broke and ran away from the fighting. Seeing his adversaries fleeing, Bhimasena took out his conchal and blew repeated blasts. The incredible sound reverberated around the battlefield, striking the Kauravas with panic. They trembled and seemed to lose consciousness. And as Bheema continued to move among the remaining Kalingas, they appeared to be in a trance. The whole army shook like a lake agitated by an alligator. Bheema wiped out their entire army, and with great difficulty their commander rallied the few that were left and brought them back to the fight. Bheema remounted his chariot and stood ready as more troops came to assist the Kalingas. Drishtadyumna then came up to Bheema, followed by a large number of Pandava warriors. And as the sun approached the western horizon, the fighting raged on. And when twilight fell, the two armies disengaged and withdrew from the battlefield. As jackals and vultures once again gathered around the grisly scenes of carnage, the soldiers made their way back to their encampments. Namaste Narasimhaya Praklada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashipur Vakshaha Shilatankana Kalayi Ito Narsingha Parato Narsingho Yato Yamitato Narsingha Bahi Narsingha Hridayi Narsingha Narasinghamadin Sharanam Prapadyi Tabbakara Kamala Bare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Chanbringam Keshavadrita Narasimha Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare